CT. Oh yeah, this is where that ball go up at. Just get Cass. You know where I'm at, Cass. Tech. Okay. All right, guys. We got another one here. This is Coach Hall. We have Coach Steve Hall with us today. So thanks for joining us on Sweat Equity Stories, where we're all about the grind, the work, and the passion behind the success. When we're all about the grind, the work, and the passion behind the success. And Coach, can you just start it off by letting everybody know who you are and some of your accomplishments in coaching and also your playing career?
Okay. Sweat Equity, thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Coach Steve Hall from Detroit Cass Tech High School. As a player, I started off at Cass Tech, graduated Cass Tech in 1988. Had a successful playing career, University of Washington and Virginia Tech, and I also played basketball in 5 countries over a 4-year span professionally. After that, I got into coaching. I've coached at Detroit Rogers High School, Detroit Northwestern High School, and before I started at Cass Tech, I was at Duquesne University and Youngstown State University.
Okay. Do you have any championships? Like, can you talk a little stuff do you have any championship here at PSL? Did you have any championships as a player? And just talk about some of your accomplishments. I mean, I know you have a lot of accomplishments as far as in doing what you do for the kids and doing what you do for the community and touching people's lives. But talk about some of your basketball accomplishments as far as in championships or the great things that you have accomplished in the sport as far as in coaching and or playing.
Okay, so once again, I'll start from high school. When I was at Cass Tech in 1988, we had the best record in school history. We were 22-4 at that time, and I was the leading scorer in the state of Michigan. When I was at Detroit Rogers High School, we won 3 state championships. We also won a state championship here at Cass Tech. I've coached 6 PSL championship teams, 5 at Cass Tech, and 1 at Detroit Northwestern.
Talk that stuff, coach. Talk that stuff. Okay, so if I were to walk into your practice right now and ask your players to describe you in one word, what would they say?
Regimented, structured, probably would be what they say. It's a lot of structure, order, and discipline, I believe. So just creatures of habit. One word would be structure.
Mm, so why would they say structure? Like, would they? Are you like? Why would they say that?
Just because we treat the practice floor as preparation. We got high-level student athletes here at Cass Tech, so the same thing in the classroom. There's a lesson plan to be carried out in our practices. There's a practice plan to be carried out. So we are purposeful in what we're doing with our time, and you can see that if you walk in that it's no will, free willing. It's always going to be structured and orderly.
Coach, I love to hear that. Now, where did that structure come from? Did that structure come from your time in a in your college ranks, or did the structure just come from you just being a structured person in your life?
The structure came from home. The structure came
Mm,
from my parents. It was instilled in me from birth, and then I
mm,
came to Cass Tech as a student, and it was the order and structure and discipline was something that I lived as a student at Cass Tech, and that's something that's part of me now, and that's something that I try to implement into my children and my players and my students.
Good job, coach. Okay, so your coaching style, who does your coaching style mirrors? Or who has your coaching style either in the NBA or in the college? Who do you mirror, or not you mirror? You have your own coaching style, but who would you think is something like your coaching style in the NBA and or college?
Well, I'll probably, Dion, will leave that up to the person that's evaluating or assessing me.
Hmm.
But who I look up to, who I admire over the years, would be Kelvin Sampson and Leonard Hamilton. Those are a couple people that I respect and admire from a distance. And my father, my father who passed away last year
Sorry to hear about
was
that, coach.
somebody that I mimicked, and grew up with, and without trying to mimic, that just was second nature, just to learn how he was moving. So he was a school administrator and a teacher, and I just think that I admire Kelvin Sampson, Leonard Hamilton, among others. But just my personality and some of my approaches come from home.
Love to hear that, Coach. Wow, wow, wow. So, you're able to, aren't you coaching your son this year, right? Correct?
I am. I am.
So, how are you able to, I was just talking to, I only bring that up because I was just talking to Coach Brooks, and how to navigate the daddy ball perception.
Well, Coach Brooks is somebody that I talked to, quite a bit. He's done this before. Ray McCallum, Trey Ziegler, Ernie Ziegler are some guys that coached their sons before. But, uh, you know, perception is it the eye of the beholder. So I don't really necessarily move to what the perception is, because people are going to perceive and things the way they want to perceive them. So I don't dance to anybody else's music. But just in terms of being an upstanding person, and loving all my players, it's not a separate criteria or anything separate because that's my son. When we're on the floor, he's one of my players just like everybody else. That's how I
Mm.
feel.
If you're getting a job done, he out. I mean, if you're not getting a job done, he out. If you're getting a job done, you in.
Correct. Correct.
Coach, love to hear that. Okay, so um, who was your favorite NBA player growing up?
My favorite NBA player growing up was Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan, and just being from Detroit, Isaiah Thomas. Those were the three people that I enjoyed watching the most. Magic was a big point guard. I was a big point guard. I also was a high scoring guard like Jordan, and that was the big point guard era, and it was a lot of good passers that were coming along. So Isaiah Thomas was a phenomenal ball handler, and those were the three players that I think I enjoyed the most.
Mm, mm. Okay, so uh, you have high school matchups now. You have guys who, I feel like you said you're a structured person, so that you put structure into your players as far as into your process of how you guys play. Who are some of those coaches now that you see as far as in, you know what, this is gonna be one of those games, guys. Bring your stuff. This team ain't gonna quit. I know how they play. I know that coach. I know the program. Who are some of those programs and some of those coaches that you are like not necessarily your rivalry, but some of those coaches that it's about to be one of them battles, guys. Bring it.
Dion, I'm gonna just answer that question more from a general standpoint.
Hmm.
I think that the Detroit Public School League, people remember how it was in the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, and sometimes people, want to perceive it to be not that anymore. And
Mm.
we seeing some of the same challenges that a lot of public schools are across the country, not just in Detroit. And I'm just gonna say that it's a few teams that you need to bring it against, and I'm gonna shout out to PSL.
Mm.
I'm gonna say, that in order for you to win a championship in the Detroit Public School League, you're going to be challenged. It's always going to be toughness. It's going to be physical and mental toughness across from you. And we lift weights religiously. We run cross country religiously. We train religiously, and it's always going to be one possession games, and it's going to challenge your manhood in the PSL. So I'm going to say if it's a public school league matchup, eventually, you're going to have to bring it.
Okay. So like, so when you talk about public school, is that like the PSL where like a lot of people say that guys are going over to Catholic schools or going across wherever to suburban schools. So why do you think that's the case in some cases, and why do you think the PSL is still here?
Well, I think it's case by case. I don't want to generalize why. People are doing what they think is best for their children. You can't knock them for doing that. But the PSL is still here. PSL is not gonna go anywhere.
Mm.
I think that we've had probably two or three of the last Mr. Basketballs in recent history. We had Pierre Brooks won Mr. Basketball, Chauncey Willis won Mr. Basketball, Darius Acuff was a Max Preps Player of the Year. Sometimes people think that going across 8 Mile might be better, and that might be better for them, but that's not gonna stop our success. We're gonna be who we are.
Mm. Coach, talk that talk. Coach, I mean, just from talking to you right now, I love your demeanor. I love the way the way I'm learning something just by how you're speaking very, very fluently. And I'm just learning something from just being around you, just from this few minutes already. So take us back to where did you grow up, and what was life for you like as a kid?
I grew up over by University of Detroit, 6 Mile Livernois area, in the 80s.
Mm.
and it was different back then. The city was booming. We had over 1 million people, maybe close to 2 million people, and just the classmates I had at Cass Tech and what people are doing now in the community, just lets me know how fortunate I was to grow up at that time and how fine those memories are, and that's one of the things that led me back here. Some
Hello, hello. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, coach.
no problem. So you were asking me what was life like growing up in Detroit, and like I said, I went to college on the East Coast. I went to college on the West Coast. I played overseas, and you know, to answer that question, you kind of got to reflect because you don't really know what's normal and what's not normal when you're going through it. So
Mm.
so when I reflect on my childhood, I wouldn't trade it for the world. But some of the things that were normal for me, I didn't realize they weren't normal until I left. Like bulletproof glass at McDonald's. Like
Mm.
party stores with bulletproof glass between yourself and the cashier. Knowing that I can't go to this gas station, it's not safe.
Mm.
But I wouldn't trade it for the world. It made me a worldly person, and you kind of learn how to move and how to maneuver, and you need those characteristics in life. So, I value my upbringing. It was phenomenal, and I think that it produced a lot of great people.
That's good, coach. So, who or what first introduced you to basketball?
My father was a college athlete. I
Mm.
think he probably had quite a bit to do with introducing me to basketball. I think my passion for basketball went to another level when I lost my mom. It
Oh,
was more or less,
sorry to hear about that, coach.
thank you. It was more or less therapeutic. It was just something that I wasn't balanced. Dion, I was entrenched with basketball. And it brought me comfort. It brought me joy. And I think it just created something that a fire that still burns in me now. It's not as a player now; it's as a coach. But you know, I don't. I'm not saying that for sympathy. I just think that it was just that profound. And I've seen a lot of people in the city and in other cities where, that's something that can save you, motivate you, help you get a college scholarship. And I'm just somebody that believes in it.
Mm. So, was your daddy was you and your dad having? You say your dad plays college ball. Were you watching from afar, or did you guys have battles? Did he say, "Son, you know, were you watching him in his practices? Like how did that battery get into you to say, you know what, I want to do this.
Just being a father. I mean, he was a college football player actually, and I don't think that he was going out his way to create an athlete. I think it's just that you learn life skills through athletics oftentimes, or whatever that person's background is. That person might have a background in cosmetology, whatever it may be. He was an educated man, and he instilled values in me. And my passion was athletics, so I use a lot of those values through athletics.
Okay, okay, coach. So, when you were young, did you have a coach or a mentor who left a big impression on you?
I think you get a little bit from each coach that you had.
Mm,
I still have a close relationship with my high school coach, Clarence Wynn, who coached
mm,
me at Cass Tech.
mm,
And that's something that's important to me to try to have relationships with my players after after they play. And
mm.
oftentimes it takes a while for them to realize the tough love and value, what it is. So, I just reflect on the relationship and the time that I had with my high school coach, Coach Clarence Wynn, and that's the person that probably resonates the most for me.
Mm. Wow, wow. Okay, so what did hard work mean to you back then compared to what it means now?
Well, I think I've always valued hard work. You learn the value of it as you get older. You can see what not working hard can get you. And so when you're dealing with people that's not working hard, you can try to give them examples of success stories with hard work and some people that came up short because they didn't work so hard. So I that was always something that was emphasized. I believe I always worked hard, but I definitely respect and value people that work hard.
Mm, mm. Okay. Okay. So, walk us through your playing career. What was your style like on the court?
I was a big guard, big combination guard. Scored a lot in high school. Um,
Mhm.
I think Mr. Ogletree told me that I'm still the all-time leading scorer at Cass. When I was coming along, it was a big point guard era that led me to the Pac-10 at the time with Pooh Richardson, Gary Payton, Sean Elliott, Terrell Brandon. Those were some of the guys that were in the conference when I was out there.
Dang.
And just you know, in order to liken what I did, just in terms of what's going on now, so you have to look at size. Shea Gilgeous Alexander's a bigger guard.
Mm.
Penny Hardaway was a bigger guard, and that's some of the guys who I could point to in terms of just as a reference point, maybe.
So those are some of the guys. I know I asked you earlier who's some of your favorite NBA players, and I'm sure you still watch the game today.
Yeah.
So those are some of the guards who you say that kind of that you may like, love, or just kind of favor your style.
It's just different. It's different now because when during our era, you had true point guards. You had people that were creating for others and making other people better. Now it's more or less positionless. That's what they call it.
Hmm.
And even somebody that's dynamic like Jalen Brunson, who I like. He had 50-point games. And we had people that were having double-figure assist games, and so it's a difference, man. I try to respect the eras, and not necessarily compare and try to rank the eras. It's just a different era now. So I just try to appreciate today's basketball for what it is.
Hey, as you should, coach. You got to be got to love this game and for wherever it evolves to. So, do you remember a moment that tests your grit as a player or as a coach?
Yeah, I mean there's moments that test my grit and my as a player and as a coach every day. Especially growing up in Detroit. I can remember one time when I was in high school and we were playing at Murray Wright, and you know that was a pretty imposing place to play, and I was having a real good game, and I was hot, and the ball went into the bleachers, and I went after the ball in the bleachers and went out in the Murray Wright section, and
Mm-hmm.
before I was able to get back on the court, I don't think anybody else saw it, but one of the Murray Wright fans pulled out a knife and stuck it to my side and told me don't hit another jump shot.
Oh shit.
So that's something that I kind of story that kind of comes back to my mind. It's kind of funny just reflecting on it, but
Oh my.
that happened at Murray Wright.
Oh my God. Well, I got another question for you. Did you go off? Did you did you go off after that?
You know what? I remember continuing to play well, man. I remember continuing to have a good game that day at Murray Wright.
Woo-wee. Dang. I'd have been like, I would have got to go tell my dad or something like that. Oh my God, that's some great stuff right there, Coach. You must have been really cooking them.
I mean that's why coaches were flocking from nationwide to come get Detroit kids. Detroit kids were tough, worldly, and that's a story that I reflect on as a positive story, not
Facts.
not as a negative story. That's where we came from, and that's what it created, man. It created some monsters.
Ooh-wee. That was a good one right there, Coach. So if we were to look at old game footage of you, what would we see? Would we see the hustle, the flash, the leadership, or would we see all three?
I think you'll see all three. I was a player that later became a coach. A friend of mine, Anderson Hunt, who played at Southwestern and UNLV, ran across one of my friends that I went to in college out in Las Vegas because they both live in Las Vegas. And Anderson Hunt told my friend that he knew back in the 80s that I would be a coach,
Mm,
and no one had ever said that before. So that kind of made me reflect on, maybe what type of kid or player I was for somebody to say that. And
mm.
that was his assessment. He said, I knew way back then that Steve would be a coach one day.
Damn,
Yeah,
that's,
so I
that's
take that as a compliment.
that's from your peers too. Hell yeah, that's definitely a compliment. So oh wow. So I was gonna say that. So I know you said that he knew you were going to be a coach. So at what point did you know that coaching was your path?
Well, I knew that basketball was my path based on my passion, and you can't play forever, so I think in order to stay close to the game, some people choose to officiate, some people choose to coach. I think somewhere along the line when I realized that I wasn't going to the NBA and I wasn't sure how many more years I was going to go overseas, decided that, I ended up coaching the 14 under AAU team in Detroit, and that situation parlayed into a high school situation. I got offered a job at a startup high school that same fall after I had coached the AAU team, and it was at a high school. And I was, just my grandma was ill, and I was wondering if I was gonna go back, and I ended up staying, and haven't looked back.
Mm. Oh wow. Wow. Okay. So was there a specific moment or player that confirmed to you, you know what, this is why I coach?
I had a player at Detroit Rogers, Mike Murray. He was a neighborhood legend. That he had never played high school ball because he wasn't eligible.
Mm-hmm.
He was at Cody, and everybody talked about Mike, but never had any grades. He was just a street legend, a neighborhood park legend. And I got Mike his junior year at Rogers. He sat out the first semester, played the second semester. He ended up leading the PSL in scoring, and Mike had a baby his senior year,
Mm.
and Mike named his son after me.
Mm.
And that's when that kind of let me know, how powerful this position is. This kid was kind of forgotten about. Nobody thought he was ever going to be eligible. And within a year and a half of having Mike, he led the PSL in scoring. He had a son. He named his son after me. And ironically, some years later, he got married, and I was the best man at his wedding.
Mm.
So I think that let me know like this may be a calling. This is something that's pretty gratifying.
Mm. Wow, that's some big time stuff. Wow, because like this game of life, this game of basketball coaching, everybody's not going to make it to the NBA. So I always say everybody has a unique something that they can give to this world while they're here. And us as coaches and you as a coach, you are helping them get to that point by daily disciplines, by being structured the way you are. Because those little things will be big if they look at that and add it to their repertoire of what they're doing to become a young man or a young woman or whoever it is they're trying to be in their life.
Right.
Okay. So uh how does coaching compare to playing in terms of the grind?
Similar. What's different to me is that as a player, you kind of feel like you got a direct impact because you're out there. As a coach, you have to instill what you're trying to get across to these players. So sometimes as a coach, I find myself like over preparing, you know, over studying. As a player, I'm just like, ref, toss it up.
Hmm.
I'm ready, because I know that I can go out there and impact it directly. As a coach, I can impact it directly, but it's going to be through others carrying out what I'm trying to get them to do. So to me,
Mm,
that's the difference between the two.
mm, mm. Okay. So when you hear the phrase sweat equity, what does that mean to you?
Sweat equity means to me, the amount of sweat, you put in, might be the reward that you get. We always talk about investments. If you make a deposit, then you can make a withdrawal.
Mm.
And to me, I look at sweat equity the same way. How can you look back and have some sweat equity? We talk about players being made in the summertime. It's about to be fall now. We're gonna have to ask ourselves, how much sweat equity do we have? How hard have we worked? So that's kind of what it means to me when I see sweat equity.
Mm. That's good, coach. That's good, coach. So just a couple more too. So how do you teach your players to value hard work over shortcuts?
At this stage, we can point to some examples. It's some rafters up there. It's some banners up in the rafters, and it's a year where we told the team like, you're gonna come back here, and your year is not gonna be up there.
Mm.
And I won't call them out, but I had a team that was number one in the state, but they didn't have enough sweat equity. They didn't invest enough. They didn't do the things that they needed to do, and we had some championships that when they were predominantly juniors, and then we had some championships the year after they left. But the year that they were there, it didn't work out. And we've been doing it long enough that we can kind of see, the makeup of the team and how it's trending, and we can point to some examples. So at this stage of our career, that's kind of how we move. We point to the examples of success stories and how they moved, and we point to some situations where it didn't work that way. And we all together. So I'm not saying the players, maybe us as coaches could have done better that year, but we generally point at the banners.
That's good, Coach. So, what's one drill or practice habit you swear by to build mental toughness?
One thing that we swear by is cross country, and some of those things we carry on into the season. Even after cross country season is over, we do a lot of running and conditioning, and we go against the clock. And it's nowhere to hide when it's just you and that clock. So that's something that we believe in. We believe in challenging you, testing you, pushing you to the limit with that clock. And conditioning your mind and your body.
Because like to have that conditioning, not have a basketball, not dribbling, not doing all that, you got to come from a place from within
Definitely.
to be able to get to that point to where you're, because some people may say, oh man, 3 miles, man, dang, but
Yeah.
to be able to get through that is mental toughness for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think today's generation of athletes has it harder or easier when it comes to earning success?
So, one thing I try to do is, like I said, be open-minded to the eras and generations. It'd be easy for me to just say, oh, they have it a lot easier, but, if they do have it a lot different, it's because of some of the things that those before them did, so we just try to instill in them to make those behind them have it easier than they had it, and that's kind of how I try to look at it more than, saying, I mean, the guys are getting paid money, Dion. Like, in order for me to get paid money after college, I had to go to Australia 20 hours in an airplane, not see my family for 8 months to make money. Nowadays, they can go to school, take classes virtually, make money, and get a scholarship, and that's an evolution. So instead of being envious of that, I just, feel like, maybe we had something to do with getting it to this point.
Two more questions, Coach, and we out of here. Okay, so when your players graduate and move on, what's the number one thing you hope they carry with them from your program?
Just having a foundation to be able to be successful at the next level. Our kids come to us every day, student athletes, and say, "Hey, this academic rigor is tough, but I'm prepared for it. This college coach's practice is tough, but I can deal with it. You prepared us for this. This is and college coaches even say, hey man, we want more of your players. Colleges say we want more of your students because they have a foundation and they're ready to go be successful. That's what's most important to me.
Coach, okay. All right, just one more. Oh wait, two more. So what's next for you and your team this season?
Just maximizing our potential and doing the best that we can. It's easy to say that correlates into championships, and obviously we are about winning, but my goal is to get the most out of our team. One of the most gratifying teams I had was 2 years ago after we won the state championship. We lost 4 starters and we had an All-American coming back. That All-American left early, so we ended up having 5 brand new starters. So everybody was lined up to get licks, some licks on us, and that team went 22-3, won the PSL championship, and was ranked number 2 in the state before the state tournament started with 5 brand new starters. We didn't win the state championship, but I do feel like as coaches we got as much as we could out of that team. So I'm trying to squeeze the orange and get all the juice out of each orange each year. That's the goal.
Coach, good job. Okay. Last one. So if you can leave this audience with a line about success, hard work, or life, your own personal sweat equity motto, what would it be?
My model that I use is learning life skills through basketball. So we're hoping that this basketball can we can dangle this carrot, and help motivate you to reach heights that you didn't think you could reach. And once the basketball is gone, the values are already instilled, and now you got a powerful person that's ready to be a success. That's the goal. That's the plan. That's the model.
Coach, I appreciate you, and I tell everybody all the time, if you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. I appreciate you for giving me your time and telling me yes. And we're at Cass Tech with Coach Steve Hall, and this has been Sweat Equity Stories, and I want to thank Coach Hall.
Appreciate you having me.
Coach,
Thanks
thank
a
you,
lot,
man.
Anytime.
All right, take care, guys.
Gotta go Cheeks and the crew. Cass Tech said they ready for another one. They said they ready for another one, Coach Hall. Coach with his boys. Yes, sir. It's that championship wall. It's that championship wall at Cass, baby. Coach out with the boys.
You told me though, you market your product. That's what I was doing.